know what they were, but they're different than what I've felt in the past. So I think the energies are separating out, and it'd be cool to be able to identify those.
Yeah, so we're starting this lunar return now, this session. I think it's number 7, right? That we're having. And this is the replay that those watching are beginning from this point now. So I want to welcome you to this beautiful class. I want to just make a few announcements here. Today, we switch things around a little, and instead of having the normal after party that we have, today we did something different and we switched it to a warm-up. So we've been here for the past hour just talking about experiences, asking questions. Of course, I naturally end up talking and sharing more. We talked about the asteroids. We talked about house cusps. But one thing that we were just talking about that I felt would be a good point for us to begin this lunar return class in. Paul was sharing about a very good point because I have heard people say this already. And I have noticed it in my life too. I mean, for years already, working with astrology, I've noticed it. So you all are starting to notice that too. And Paul's question was, what if I start to feel the energy before it happens? You know, he was expressing these energies that were lining up for him, and he knew it was going to be a matter of time before they, transited into specific alignments and so forth. And he was already feeling it before it happened. And he was asking me, is it because it's psychological, like I'm looking at it and I feel it happening, or what's happening there? And I was, we talked a little bit about how this is normal. Yes, you may feel that. You may notice even before the alignment happens that you are going to start experiencing that energy or feeling that energy. And I talked to him a lot about the intuition. This is a known fact. Just our intuition alone, even if we didn't have the astrology to show us, our intuition still shows us and will tell us, especially those that are more intuitive or have that part of them exercised more. These people are more sensitive, and they're going to notice when something's going to happen, maybe even months before it does. So part of it is the intuition, and then of course the other part is we have the cycles, we have the map, we have the blueprint that we laid out for ourselves. That is part of a much greater cosmic co-creation that's happening here in this universe. So we have these cycles that are part of the human journey here. It's part of our evolutionary process. So the planetary alignments, they denote the steps of this evolutionary process for you. Okay, and they're not defining them as good or bad. They're moments of evolution. They're moments that we get to experience ourselves in the context of the human experience. We're not the human experience. We are experiencing ourselves in the context of the human experience here. And so the planets and the planetary alignments, they show us that map. That's what it is. It's just showing us a map. And it's not, we don't have to make ourselves a victim of it, and we don't have to be like, oh, this is happening to me or this is coming to me, but we just realize, okay, well, what's the next step here? And with time, what I was sharing here with Paul and the students is that with time, this is how we learn how to predict. This is where we start to become a step ahead. We have the intuition that will show us something. We have the astrology that will confirm it, or vice versa, whatever it is. But there are two components that work together. And basically, they're helping you understand yourself in the context of a human journey, of a human experience. So using one or the other or both together is a powerful tool for self-awareness and self-transformation. And the reason why I say self-transformation is because you're going to see now you guys are more and more at this point where you're starting to understand. Things are starting to make sense to you more and more. So as this happens, it's only normal that you are going to start to predict You're going to start to, what people call prediction. You're just reading a map. You're just reading a very intricate design. That's what you're doing. You're not predicting anything. You're reading an intricate system. You're having that conversation with that intricate cosmic design. So as you do that, you're going to start to see things that are going to happen in the future. And you're going to be able, and that gives you a lot of power in a certain sense. It helps you be a step ahead, and you can see moments, you'll see moments where, oh my God, I'm going to meet someone special. I'm going to meet someone important. And hey, you do have the upper hand because you know that window of time. You have, let's say, a Venus lining up with a vertex point, for example. There's a very synchronistic relationship coming into your life, soul aligned. So it gives you the upper hand. You're on the lookout. You don't take things lightly. You're reading between the lines. Maybe you have a past life with that person. You don't take it for granted. So it gives you the upper hand. It's a fun thing to do, to spot when the doors are going to open for me to travel. It's fun. But what about the other part? What about the part that's not so fun? Which is when you see something that you don't want to see in your chart. I know all too well what that's like. Trust me, my Venus out of bounds in the 8th house can also go down the rabbit hole, especially because Mercury's right there. They're both out of bounds. Whoosh. They'll go down the rabbit hole. And I've lost sleep for months on end, being like, what is going to happen with this alignment? Okay? I can give you many examples of them. And I know that all of you have moments like that, where you have, let's say, a Pluto that's about to cross your ascendant, or Pluto about to cross your IC, for example, or a progressed planet that's about to change houses or signs and bring a new dynamic for you. So some visitors passing by, taking their time. I got like this big window here. Well, you guys already all know my view. So when people pass by and they see me very animated, don't worry, I'm not crazy. So this is the part that brings the reality to astrology and really starts to separate astrologers from astrologers, because you can have the forecast mainstream astrologers bringing the fun stuff or bringing the prediction, which is not even really like that works, but and then you can have the other astrologers, and I'm talking here, you and I as well. We could be looking at our own charts. You could be your own astrologer, and you could be looking at your chart, looking for all the little tiny, I'm going to meet her and I'm going to do this and I'm going to go there. Or you can look at your entire chart like, what am I doing here? What the freak is this all about? Okay. And then when you start to see these big players lining up and about to activate something, or, transiting Uranus with a sun, for example, life changes. This is a lot of changes. And I just gave a reading to one of you, I think, that had this combination of sun and Uranus together. This is massive. So this is where you start to be a step ahead and be like, okay, there's change. And yeah, digging deeper, having a session, you can narrow down better what those changes are about. But nonetheless, you can't escape from the fact that it's time for you to change. There's something about your cycle that does not allow you to stagnate anymore. And so Uranus may come as a whirlwind. Uranus may come with unpredictable, situations and people and emotions. And it may also come with spontaneous ideas, outside the box genius ventures, innovations that you are experiencing in your spiritual, physical, emotional life. So this is where it pays off to understand the heart, soul, and essence of the archetypes. Because as they come with these strong energies in your life, you're not a victim to it. And, there are just certain things that we're learning. We're not children that just have a say in everything. Like, I'm alone in the planet. I can do whatever I want. I can destroy this and destroy that. And I'm, no, we're realizing that we're working with these other forces. So You start to understand your path, and you start to understand, and this is where you start to take responsibility. This is the most important thing with astrology. When you learn how to take responsibility for everything, the good, the bad, the intense, okay? For example, for those of you watching my lunar return journaling, where I synthesize my own lunar return charts, the one that I had, the Black Moon Lilith one, I had Black Moon Lilith on my ascendant that month. And I attracted a lot of Black Moon Lilith experiences. And one of them was a very disrespectful situation with another young gentleman that was here at the time. He's no longer here in Sedona, but he was very disrespectful for 2 hours. And I explained the story a little bit there and talk about how that really was very much of a Black Moon Lilith experience for me. Well, now I have Black Moon Lilith, this lunar return, it's on my 4th house. Even though it's not on the IC, it's in the 4th house. Still an angular house, very important. And I'm starting to see that type of people wanting to cross their boundaries with me this month. There's been 3 already, okay? And this is not normal. This is not normal. Now, I know the times we're in, we're very Black Moon Lilith times. I want to bring that into our lunar return class as well. But so, understanding that allows us also to have more understanding and ease with the situations that are, so we don't completely lose it. This is a phase we're all going through here, but it is coming from my 4th house this month. So I'm feeling it. And I've had 3 different situations so far. The lunar return isn't done yet, that were in many ways resembling that one that I had with Black Moon Lilith on my ascendant. So both experiences for me, I see this coming. And yes, I know that Black Moon Lilith is speaking to me. I know that all the things of Black Moon Lilith, I know what her potential is. I know the spiritual side. And yes, I'm very aware of that. But I also know that Black Moon Lilith has her angry side. She has her feisty side. She has her jealous side. She has, and I've been experiencing all of that. So for me, this has been very, very, very powerful in getting to know myself as I take responsibility for these situations that happen to me. Because when they happen, my immediate reaction is to feel the anger, feel the Black Moon Lilith, feel the, and try to like match up or what's, what is it kind of thing. But because I know my chart, I understand the dynamics of my lunar return, I understand the powerful 0 degrees of Capricorn and Cancer that I'm having as my ascendant and descendant, then I can make sense of these energies as I take responsibility. I know in my chart that I am really being pushed this month to gain clarity on my boundaries and communicate them. Because this month, I've really had very clear experiences showing to me all the ways that I've been compromising and how in my maybe Libra, my overly Libra, I have so much in Libra that I go overboard to make people happy and to give of myself. I'm a very generous person. People that know me, like the more you come into my circle, I'm very loving and generous. And I started to see and notice these patterns like, oh my God, Raquel, do you want to keep hurting yourself? Do you want to keep opening the door for these things to keep coming to you? Take responsibility. And this is why I have a 0 degree Capricorn ascendant this year, this month, because I'm learning how to take my power. I'm learning how to step into my power in new ways. And part of that is being clear on my boundaries, being clear on because if I'm not, oh my God, before I know it, at least with me, that's how it is. Before you know it, I'm like, whoa, how did I get from there to here? Whoa, like this started off as one thing and all of a sudden it's like very different. For it to come to that place of being very different, there is somewhere in between where the break occurs, that initial, and I've been able to spot that because I've contemplated so much. I've taken responsibility for the fact that, hey, okay, I'm experiencing this. And yes, there's a lot of projection going on, but hey, why am I attracting this? This is communicating something to me. I haven't gone to, to that level to, and you did this, you did that. No, but I've been listening to them and even reflecting on me, just listening and being okay with it, just being passive. This is speaking to me. So this is where astrology becomes a tool for prediction and transformation. And then the more you know yourself, the more you have that ability to contemplate on every alignment that happens in your chart as it comes through transits, through lunar returns. That's where you develop yourself. This is where you become aware of who you are and your reality. Then you are not only predicting. Then when you look at something that's going to happen in 3, 4, 5 months from now, you're not predicting. You're preparing. And you're not preparing out of fear. You're not preparing out of victim mode. Oh, Mercury retrograde's coming. How can I prepare? No. You're preparing a step ahead because you know yourself. You know that these cycles are going to come. And if the Mercury retrograde is going to conjunct one of your personal planets, there's something there for you to look at. And you're not going to be a victim to it. And you're not going to be a child and deny it. But you're going to look at it and you're going to be like, all right, what's up? How can we negotiate this one? That's Raquel. That's what I would say. How can we negotiate this one? It's awesome. I love you. Thank you, Galaxy. What's your real name, Galaxy? Who is Galaxy? I don't know. Sometimes there's like these. Most of you have your real names here, but sometimes there's some that don't have their. So I don't know. I think Galaxy, you're the only one. But yeah, it's a profound thing. It's a profound thing. And that's why now you're beginning to understand why Raquel Spring is such a maniac when it comes to astrology. Because it's a serious thing. Now, it's not God. It's not my religion. There are times that I'll go for weeks on end without checking my stuff. So recording again, and we had an internet break over there. So we're back. And just concluding here in this second part of the recording, what we're talking about is I'm helping to bring awareness and responsibility to your practice with astrology. And whether you're going to be using it for yourself or for others, it's a very serious thing. And there's a reason why astrology has been kept hidden and secret, and only very few people could use it. There's a reason for that. It does require a certain level of maturity to be able to wisely use it. So bringing responsibility to your role as an astrologer, whether you do it professionally or not, you are an astrologer. And having that sense of responsibility toward what you're doing in your practice and your understanding of their roles in your life is very important. Otherwise, we become victims. Otherwise, there's no way to look at a chart and not spot something intense that's coming, So, for example, right now we're having this really powerful, since you guys are talking about Uranus, Black Moon, Lilith, Mars, they're all getting ready to come together. And that's going to be huge, okay? And you're going to feel that somewhere in your life. So part of the lunar return class here is I want to talk about this dynamic and help you understand maybe where to look at it in your chart, what to look for, where to find it, what's lining up with. But then it behooves you to the meaning you're going to bring to it. Unless I'm doing a personal reading to you, there's no way that I'm going to be able to tell you exactly what it means for you. And this is where you have to get your understanding of your chart, the things we're learning together, and then use your discernment, use your maturity as an astrologer to be able to put these together in your life in a way that's going to make sense for you. because we can't run away from the fact that we're all experiencing that. And then lunar return charts, they help. They will assist also in showing that month where that energy is going to be coming from. So we can't run away from that. We can't run away from the angry people and the angry this and the angry that and the explosiveness of that combination. But we can definitely channel the energy when we feel it. And we can definitely make good use of it in a conscious way. And we can also most definitely let it speak to us. Sometimes we just need to listen. Sometimes it's not even about doing anything or taking matters into our own hands as much as it is about listening. Like the insights that I've been getting, I mean, this has been a difficult month for me, as I'm sure for many of you. I've had heartbreaks in so many directions. And I know people are solving their things. I know people are going through their things. And I know that to me, it's not about they did this or they said that. But this is speaking to me. So after I have my moment of feeling the anger or the flare, be feeling upset or crying, then I listen. Sometimes I get my chart, sometimes I don't. I already kind of know what's without having to look at it, but sometimes I'll just stare at my chart and I'll be like, just staring at all the components, like what is this trying to show me, and sitting with my heart. And when you do that, especially when you do that under the right circumstances, clean water, exercise, you have good food in your body. Don't try to meditate on these things after you put shit in your body. Sorry to say that. If you don't expect yourself to achieve clarity, and I say this to myself too. I get all worked up because I know what it's like. I know what it's like to want the clarity, to need the clarity, and I'm sitting down and I'm feeling heavy and tired, and I'm like, Raquel, how do you expect yourself to receive clarity if you're stopping yourself from receiving it? So take advantage of the moments. If you know you're going to go out for a big party or a big dinner or whatever, like, okay, there's a time for everything. But the moments you really need clarity in your life, to know what these big players are talking to you about and what it's all about, this Pluto in your 7th house. Do it at a time when you are ready for that. For me, I love like first thing in the morning. I'm very clear. I have certain things that I put in my body, and I don't just go eating anything or drinking anything. I have my breathing that I do, and just certain things that I know is allowing me to hold the space to receive the answer and receive the insight. But do it. Don't take it for granted. Because otherwise, you feel the alignments. They're going to come anyway. They're going to come anyway. And if you don't want to take that route, then you're going to be a victim of it. You're just going to watch it happen. With that being said, it's a very important thing. You're going to hear me talk about this several times, about the responsibility that we have with astrology and what it's really there for. You're going to hear me talk about this many times. But it's important now because we are reaching a very crucial point in history. And we're at a time right now, like I'm realizing more and more. I mean, I already know this. It's obvious, but more and more we're realizing that this is really about pulling back, and nobody knows what is going to happen right now. Everybody is in such a state that this can, this whole thing, I know the people watching the replay afterwards, this is already going to be, have happened and stuff, but we're at a place right now where we can't trust anybody. We can't rely on anybody. And part of it is really frustrating. I know I'm getting a lot of people coming to me through sessions, personal life, friends, a lot of people that are expressing the same thing, how frustrated they are for having their hands tied with how much they can actually do in the world event situation and all the big decisions that are being made. People expressing, feeling like they're, being controlled or there's nothing I can do here. And this is very much about taking responsibility for your part in the world, whatever that means. To me, it's like I got you guys, my community, and astrology. So my example, I'm like, you know what? At the end of the day, whoever wins this election, whatever, I'm not into politics, but just because we're in the middle of all of this, whoever wins, it's going to be what it's going to be. And my life is still going to have to go on. So how can I be practical today with where I'm at? This is about conserving your energy and focusing, using your energy on the things that you are choosing to focus on. Otherwise, if you give one little, inch of it to the world, it's a vortex. It's just going to take and go and suck all your energy away. That's what it does. And then before you know it, you have no energy left to take care of your children, yourself, make your decisions. So for me right now at this point, obviously it's not about, not like, I don't want anything to do with it. Obviously there's going to be some changes here for all of us, coming up. But this is about knowing that I'm not a victim to that. And how can I reel it back in and make it about me, where I am today? Because at the end of the day, I am a soul choosing to have this sliver of this human experience as part of its growth process. So regardless of who is president right now or not, my life still goes on as this soul in this human expression. And I know that we're having a Taurus and Scorpio axis coming up for the nodal placement in a year from now. That's huge. Like, the story is not done yet. For those that think that if Trump wins, yes, we made it, we're saved. Or if Biden wins, we're screwed. We all have to take the vaccine. Like, no, things are going to keep changing. There's a lot that's going to change. There's a reason why we have Uranus and Saturn in a square this year. There's going to be a lot of things changing. So the reason why I get so worked up like this is because I want to help all of you that are going through difficult times in your life right now to gain perspective and strength through it all. Because I know many of the situations are painful. I know. And when emotions are involved, it's like, how can I do anything else, right? Your body doesn't work, your brain doesn't work. It's a mess. But look at it as part of the process. It's part of your evolutionary process. You're learning. It's a cycle. It's not going to last forever. We keep going. And the more we can reel the energy back into our realities and stay focused, what can I do today? Whether he wins or she wins or whatever, I got my community waiting for me. I got a handful of astrology lovers that are just as passionate about astrology as I am, ready to learn. They're ready to listen to me. So how can I be present and give my all? This is about my experience with my world and my reality. And so that's how we do this dynamic and how we do this game between the others and the world and us and our creations. Now, there's only so much we can do at certain points. So bringing it back into what you can do, astrology helps with that. Take responsibility. Then you have the map ahead, and we all have our ups and downs. It's never perfect, but at least you have that pace. If you're thrown out of you can come back to that pace. Honor your times. You need to cry, you need to scream, you need to yell, you need to vent, you need to dance. Honor it, do it. But then you come back to that pace. Come back to that pace. You know where it's going. You got the astrology. It's your guiding map. It's showing you what's next. It's beautiful. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to blend a little bit of the energetics that we are having right now. And I'm going to show you how we're going to have a real-time practice of this, because we're going to look at the students that want to participate are welcome, you guys. We're going to talk about the different ascendants that we have had for this last month, or the current lunar return that we're in right now. If you want to bring up your ascendant, you may do so after I tell you what the hot zones are right now. And if you have something in your ascendant that's bringing that, you can bring it as an example. But this process of doing it real time with the alignments today, they're just going to be used as a basis, as an example for anyone that is watching this in the future to benefit from. And you are going to get the same principles, and you're going to apply it to your lunar return or your natal chart. You know, there's going to be some things we're going to talk about that is going to guide you to your natal chart. And then we're going to see how it's being reflected in your lunar return. So again, always working with both. Whatever you feel compelled to look at, to dissect further, to use as your point of study and practice, do it. Okay? So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to share my screen. Actually, I'm just going to share here the Capricorn new moon. Why am I sharing this chart? This is hidden. Huh? Okay. I'm sharing this chart because this here is going to be a starting point for us to talk about, you know, some of the energies at play, but also how to work with them in a lunar return, how to work with them in a natal chart. Actually, the natal chart is just going to be there to support. We're not going to be looking at it in our natal chart right now. No, it's going to be mainly lunar return. Why? What I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a principle that you can use with any lunar return chart in the future. And this is understanding the dynamic of the current energies at play. So I chose the Capricorn new moon because this is the closest chart we have. This happened on January 12th. Today we're in January 16th. So it's a pretty close chart to the real-time alignments. And the new moon is always a good chart. It holds so much weight, okay? This over here is not to be substituted for your lunar return. They're complementary. So the lunar return, the new moon chart is a chart that we use to look at the overall energies for the world, for a country, for a location, okay? The way we do that is the following. Any alignment that is happening, for example, the new moon, it's happening for the world. The whole world is having this new moon. So I can say that this is a chart for the world. Now, I can get more specific and I can refine that if I want for the country. So in this regard, I would put the state and the country, what's the US chart, for example. You'll just get the country you're in. You get the location. It's all about the location. So you just get the location of the chart for the US, for example. Okay? And you're going to see that dynamic at play for them. But what I like to do even more is narrow it down to your city, to your town. You notice how I always use Sedona as my Capricorn, as my new moon and full moon charts? It's here because I'm living here. I suggest that you do this for the chart, for the city that you're living in, for the town you're living in. And all you have to do is get the exact time of the new moon and just put your location that you're in. And that's going to start to narrow it even further and even further and even further. So here with the Sedona chart, I have, I guess you could say, the most refined chart for the new moon for where I'm at. If I do it, in another, let's do it here to show you. If I change, let's go to edit chart. So if I change from Arizona and I put, let's say where I was living before, in Maine. Okay, I was living in Maine before. So if I was in Maine, or for the people there right now, okay, it's not that much, okay? This over here. This mainly has to do with time zones. As you're going to see, it doesn't change that much. But if you go somewhere else in the world, and if I get, let's say, Australia or another country like that, or even could be the same country, but a very different time zone, you get a different, I could have gotten here a 0 degree Libra, for example. And that changes a lot, the dynamic for where I'm at. But let me go back. This is one way that you can refine the new moon or any chart and make it be as applicable to you as possible. However, let's put it back to Sedona. See, it makes a big difference here in the mid degrees. You get the Neptune. Neptune is a lot closer here. It is on top of the descendant. Like, people here in Sedona are feeling a lot of this uncertainty. A lot is coming from the area of relationships. And yes, I can say that. I can rightfully say that. On the other hand, look at where it places the nodes, like right on the midheaven, So you can start to narrow down certain energies and refine them so that they can be closer to your experience. Now, they don't substitute your lunar return chart, because your lunar return chart is your personal, starting a new cycle here for the month. It's your personal thing, so it doesn't substitute it. Now, once you have your whatever chart you're working with, what you want to do is you want to make note of the main focuses in astrology that are happening. This is the main places where energy is coming from. This is how you're going to understand the dynamics of your chart. And after I explain this to you, and especially after you practice, you're going to see that you don't need a new moon chart. All you need is your lunar return, really. Okay. But this new moon chart over here is giving us a visual, since we're not going to get, one lunar return or another here to look at. We're going to get a general. This is where the energies are at. And you're going to see this very similar configuration in your lunar return, because your lunar return is the transits for that moment, for that month, as they relate to you. As they relate to you. This is the real-time alignments that we call transits. Transits are real-time. This is what's happening right now in the sky. So the transits and how they relate to you. So in order to do that, you have to get familiar with what's happening in the sky. So we know, for example, that we have a lot of things. There's always many, many, many things happening. And this is where it pays off to understand, of course, if you can, the heart and soul, but understand as much as you can about all the configurations. So I'm not just looking at Mars. I'm looking at this whole bunch. Mars, Uranus, Black Moon, Lilith. They're all together. They're all telling a story. And this is where a lot of my free videos and articles, they help with that, because they help pave the way. I talk a lot about these random energies, Mars and Uranus, helping put it together. This is what you're learning how to do. But having an understanding of these energies as they are will help you interpret them and understand what they mean for you. So the main focus points here, there's many of them. I mean, I could look at everything as a focal point, but I'm going to bring up the two most obvious ones here, which are the energy in Taurus, which is Mars, Uranus, and Black Moon, Lilith. And this entire bunch here, which just happens to be, it's a whole stellium. Now, I know that we have, at least in the Capricorn new moon, okay, now this is not the case anymore, but in the Capricorn new moon, we had the sun, the moon, and Pluto all together. Now, this is a very, very, very powerful thing that we're going to talk about isolated from this. However, I want to bring to your attention that they are together. This is a stellium, ladies and gentlemen. This is a stellium. It's crazy. This is a stellium. And even though, maybe Mercury is a little bit too far ahead, it's not technically in the conjunction with the sun and the moon, even though the sun and moon together is very powerful, so we can expand a little more the orb here. But even if technically, okay, it's not that 10 to 12 degree orb here, but you're taking the entire story into consideration. And if this, when I see something like this in a chart, by the way, whether it's a natal chart or transit, whatever, when I see a stellium like this, where there's a lot of planets together, especially if the planets are big planets, like the soul, karma, Jupiter and Saturn, business, restructuring for the planet. I mean, these are huge things here. So especially when we see some big players lined up, man, they could be even 20 degrees apart. I'm still considering them together. They're still telling the same story. And, even though this one over here, Mercury, is more than 10 to 12 degrees away, so technically it's not part of the conjunction. And also we have it in 2 different signs, so we take all that to consideration. We kind of outweigh the orb here, give a little wiggle room. However, this is a huge script. So I am taking all of this. This is a stellium. And guess what? Many of you are getting this entire stellium in a house this lunar return, or next, depending when your lunar return begins.
Yes.
Yeah, so that is huge. I've seen that in many lunar returns already. Most of us are getting this. If we don't get all of it in one house, then we're getting it partly in one house and the other part in the other house. Okay, so you're looking at your lunar return chart right now and you're seeing this dynamic, whether it's in your current chart or in the one to come. So it's a big deal. It's a freaking big deal. Then, as if that's not enough, we have Taurus. The Taurus energy, which is a huge deal in and of itself. And that energy, which is a big deal in and of itself, just happens to be conversing in a square with this already intense dynamic. Now, I so wish that I could just talk like this in all my YouTube videos and all my stuff and people would understand, because it would make my job so much easier. But I can't, and they don't understand it because they don't have the foundation that you guys do, and they don't have the background that you guys do. So, but you see the intensity of it and the reality of this, and why we are in such intense times right now. So we're all getting this in some way, and it's all being manifested in our chart in some way. So what you want to do here, reeling it back in a little bit here before we continue about the real-time alignments, regardless of the phase you're in, we could be talking in a year from now, you still want to look at where the focal energy points are coming from. There's another massive focal point here with the nodes and Neptune, but I may talk about that on the next class, because this is going to be perfecting by the end of the month on 29th and 30th of this month. So we may talk about it in the next month. This is another focal point here. Look at this T-square. And we're going through it. But this over here is a lot more dynamic right now. So that's what we're going to stick to. What you're going to do is you're going to understand the focal points of energy at any given time, whatever time you're looking at. 6 months from now, you want to know what the real-time alignments are doing? Get your closest new moon chart. That's your safest bet, because that new moon chart has got an imprint for your town, for the country, for the world. It's got an imprint. So that means that Venus here Venus in Capricorn, Venus was only here at 5 degrees Capricorn for the new moon. Now Venus is not here anymore. Now Venus is still going, But this new moon chart is a chart with a lot of weight. So if Venus is doing something significant on the new moon, it's a fantastic place to compare with your chart and see if you have something going, as opposed to just getting today. Today we're in the 16th of January, and just getting today and seeing where the planets are at. This over here holds a lot more weight. So, and this is for like an overall weight, okay? This is not getting specific. This is like overall for the month. This is the energy for the month for me. So another focal point is Taurus. This is what you're going to do. You're going to go to your current chart, your new moon, or even just your lunar return. I don't use new moon charts for myself. I just go straight to the lunar return, and I already know where the focal points are. So if you need help doing that, go to astrologer, your go-to news or whatever to understand these dynamics. Because when you understand these dynamics, if you feel you understand it without having to go to a book or a podcast or something, great, you know. But if you don't, go to a source where you trust, where you feel good, get the energy imprints of what's happening. So, for example, we're going to be having a Mercury retrograde very soon. And I was indecisive if we were going to talk about the Mercury retrograde in this class or the next class, because it's also going to be the time that's going to be happening. Oh, no, but then the next class is going to be synthesizing, right, for us. Yeah, I have to see how we're going to do that one. But yeah, we have a Mercury retrograde that's happening too. Now, when you understand the zones of Mercury retrograde and you see it coming up ahead, and it's coming up in a couple weeks from now, Mercury retrograde, you can look at your next lunar return chart and see, oh, is it highlighting something specific for me? Is it talking with my natal chart or with my lunar return chart through an angle, through an ascendant, you know? Or if it's your natal chart, is there a natal placement over there that's conjuncting? So we'll cover that a little bit when we talk about the Mercury retrograde. But these are the types of energies that you want to be a step ahead. You want to already have an understanding. Because then when you get your lunar return chart to interpret, it's a lot easier. It's a lot easier. So this class is to give you a little demonstration of that. So this is what we're going to do now. I'm going to give you a little overview of the energies at play with these alignments that we're talking about here. And I'm going to focus right now, it's going to be focused on this stellium, isolating a little bit the Capricorn and the Aquarius roles. And then we're going to bring in the focal point of Taurus and understand how these energies are active now. And then I'm going to invite those of you that have these energies in your current lunar return chart in an angle, especially angles, because you can really notice it there and they're really calling your attention. Ascendant especially is number one, because the ascendant becomes the theme for the month. So if any of you have any of these particular alignments in your current solar return, in your current lunar return, I'm going to invite you afterwards to share that, what it is and which alignments it is, and a little bit of your experience so we can all see that in action. Okay? So, and this is again showing you what can be done. You're going to be taking this a step further. The more you go, the more you practice, you're going to be taking this a step further, where next time you're going to be able to do this with the nodes, with Venus and Capricorn, with Neptune. You know, you're going to be able to do it with all the parts of the alignments. But we have to start with the most obvious ones, the most intense ones, so you can really get a clear picture of how this works. So needless to say, we had the new moon happen conjunct Pluto. Wow. Even for people in the future watching this, this is outstanding. A new moon conjunct Pluto. This is really big. Any of you who are getting this, we did one of our students in the last week when we did the date with Raquel Spring has her ascendant. If I don't remember now who it was, but if you're in here, you can if you feel comfortable, speak up. She has her ascendant. I believe that's at 25, 26 Capricorn. Pluto is literally making its way over her ascendant right now.
Yeah, that's me.
That?
That's me, April.
April, honey. Oh my God. I have not stopped to think about that. I mean, that came out wrong. I have not stopped thinking about that. I want to work to make a difference in the phrase. I have not stopped thinking about that, because that is so intense. And anybody having this happening right now. This is beyond. When I saw this, I was like, April, what is going on, honey? This is wow, huge. So we talked a little bit about the dynamic of what it means when Pluto crosses your ascendant, which is already huge in and of itself. But on top of that, look at the times we're in. Look at all the alignments we had throughout 2020 that were bam, bam, bam in those last few degrees of Capricorn, conjunct Pluto, with Saturn, with Jupiter. I mean, we had so many things over there in Capricorn that were giving that reset, giving that reset, giving that reset. So 2020 was an incredible year when it comes to alignments because of the focal point in this area where Pluto is at. So the new moon today was very significant. This last new moon this month, very significant because this is like the concluding. This is in many ways the we had all those alignments, we had all those experiences, and now we have the new moon here, just like bam, that last little bit. All right, Saturn and Jupiter already left. Boom, they're not Capricorn anymore. But we have a new moon here being like, just one more push in Pluto before we're gone. And let's remember that new moons are energies that last for about 6 months too. So we're still working with this. We're wrapping up the script here. Like I said, cycles, they go through process. It's not a overnight thing here. So this new moon conjunct Pluto is a big deal, big deal, big deal. And on an individual level, when you see this coming up in your chart, you're going to experience that as very powerful opportunities for resets in your life, or powering up or reset. This is a phase where things are going to be black and white in your life. And you are being pushed to realize certain things. And I'm saying pushed because a lot of these alignments are coming through with a lot of force. Now, there are areas of support. Oh my gosh, there are definitely areas of support, especially, for example, if you have any later degrees in Taurus. This would create a grand trine with the powerful new moon and the focus and commitment here. Part of fortune, focus and commitment. Your Virgo house is very much supporting this and giving you helping you with the power and stay focused. And any Taurus placements, for example, would be assisting with this. That's a powerful flow of energy. And there's many ways to look at a chart where you can look for help, for support, for areas of greater ease, to balance all the intense energies. And that comes with time, that comes with practice. That's why I bring up these examples and I show you these lunar returns, because you can go learning a little bit more and more. But now, let's get one thing at a time and stay focused on the fact that we're having power dynamics everywhere. And these power dynamics are speaking to you. They're showing you something. They're opening certain doors and they're closing other doors. It is what it is. I don't know if it's my moon conjunct Saturn that, like, at the end of the day, I'm just like, let's just get practical here. After all the drama and all the tears and all the whatever, like, trust me, I know how to feel. My Venus out of bounds in Cancer, in the 8th house, I feel things very deeply. And it doesn't take me anywhere if I stay there. It's a vortex. It's a rabbit hole. So I allow myself to feel. I have a Venus out of bounds for a reason. So I allow myself to feel. But then it's just like, all right, let's get practical here. What needs to be done? How can we keep going? And I will tell you that this point of power is closing doors for a lot of you, and it's opening doors equally. So this is where we start to understand our role in it all and grow up, take responsibility for the doors that want to be closed and close them, for crying out loud, and open the ones that want to be open. So for me personally, I got this spectacular power thing here on my first house, okay, in an angular house. So, and with that 0 degree lunar return, you're going to see it when I synthesize my chart, but it's really, for me, this is very much about getting clear on my boundaries, not being so passive. Like I was trained to be passive. Grew up in a cult. I was trained to always be okay with whatever happened. And I'm realizing so many places of my life where I could have a little bit more of that authority and that clarity that comes before the authority. So this is where, like, it's not right for me to start just authority is it's gonna bring drama, it's gonna bring arguments, and I don't do that. Libras, no, they're too refined to raise their voice, But I still have a participation in it. I still have a role, and this is still happening. I'm creating this experience. So before I even dare to use my authority, I need to be clear. And this is not a clarity that comes from ego. Oh, you hurt me, so that's not fair. No. If I do that, it's another rabbit hole for my Venus out of bounds. Can't do that. Life doesn't let me get away with that. So I need to get clear from my heart. I need to realign myself with why I'm even here, why that situation even started in first place, and so forth. And I even think, wasn't it this part where we cut out? On the first part where the internet cut out, I remember talking about this, and I just came back again. Because I have this dynamic that I'm like, how did I get from here to here? How did something that starts so beautiful, let's say a relationship, a partnership, oh my God, we're meant to be together, we're meant to work together. I'm exaggerating here, but just to give you a proof of point. How did that get to there from, like, I am feeling totally taken advantage of, crossing my boundaries, like, I am not okay with this. This is, whoa. And I'm like, how did it go from this to this? And maybe you have that happen in your life too. Well, from exercising contemplation and listening so much, I've been able to notice that everything in life has a point where it starts to shift. It starts to morph. If it's the relationship, there is a point when the familiarity starts to come in. If it's the work thing, there's a point where you start to get bored of what you're doing or tired of what you're doing. There is an initial point for that. But if you're not listening, you're only going to listen to it when it's very aggravated, and in many cases too late to change. I've been really learning a lot about, let me put this here. Let me stop the share just so you guys can see my face. I've been learning a lot about this because I've been realizing how much I can save myself the trouble of a lot of having to deal with things after they escalate. And it helps me take responsibility as well. And it is a form of me taking my power too. And this is all just becoming clear to me because I'm having this crazy first house for this lunar return. It's pushing me to understand the Capricorn energy as it relates to me, which is the getting a little more, those strong Capricorns out there, you guys know what Capricorn is all about. Capricorn is the boss. Capricorn is the father. It's the leader. It's the, he can be seen as the tough one, but he's the one that helps us learn and progress. And without Capricorn, we don't have the stability, the discipline that we need to achieve. So I can't just be all love and light, heart, compassion, understanding, because that can generate, depending on the people you're working with. So something you're going to learn with me in the future when I talk about the path of freedom can lead to familiarity. So when you are, this is something I learned with my mentor, when you are generous and when you are open, you have to be very mindful because not everybody is going to interpret it like that, or not everybody sees it like that. And that can get taken advantage of. And if you're living that type of generosity, my teacher taught me that is, you just don't even do that because that's complete ignorance. Like, better at this stage. So he trained me how to look at people, ask them specific questions, and just kind of gauge where people are at before being so generous with them, before opening up and sharing and so forth. And that is something that I have been thinking this last month that I need to practice more, instead of being so, trusting and giving and so forth. So I've been learning my own lessons. And that's the point. That's the only point in me sharing the story, is to share with you how this works. So Pluto in my life has definitely been creating that opportunity for me to close some doors and open new ones. But these are doors that now I'm being mindful of. I backtrack and I meditate on where that breakage point was. When did the familiarity start to come in? When did the difference of opinion or the lack of communication where did that come in? And I'm only able to do that. I actually did some this morning too. Oh my God, this morning was so good. I had so much clarity. And I did it with my machine. I don't even think I showed you my machine. I have this machine that it's a hydrogen and oxygen, and you get the right amount, quotient. And so I like to do that sometimes in the morning. It's really nice. And it just makes me feel so clear. So I'm able now to, what I did this morning is I went all the way back to this one specific situation. Okay, right now there's 3 that's happening. There's one really big one. And I'm like, how did it start from this to this? This is not, I don't, this is crossing my boundaries. And I was only able to do that after I got past my point of feeling angry. So this is, and I'm giving you this tidbit here because I know many of you are getting this Pluto Sun conjunction in your charts. And this is a lot of power dynamics with men, with people in general, and with you, your authority, your light. And it's not about good or bad or he's wrong, she's wrong. This is how are we taking responsibility for our power. But this power cannot be taken responsibility for with aggression or with authority that comes from lack of clarity, soul clarity, inner clarity. Otherwise, it's ego. Then that leads to drama. You're repeating patterns. So I felt the anger. I felt the total unbalanced. I mean, it's obvious, the situation, the people I've spoken to, everything, it's obvious. There was a very serious unbalance of energy and lack of respect that happened toward me. And of course, I was quiet again. Because I know that if I say anything, it's going to turn into an argument. It's going to turn into a huge thing. So I have to let just the one person do but then as I let the person do that, it's also kind of obvious what's coming out here, so I let the person reflect on that and so forth. But I was only able to get to that level of clarity, which is crucial for your decisions, after I felt the anger, but then worked with it, breathed into it, breathed it out, acknowledged it as a part of me, of my experience, felt which organs of my body were feeling this pressure the most, and then just being like, don't worry, it's okay. They're like all in these stress, having to react in a stress way, right? All the organs and stuff just because of my emotions. So then it's acknowledging that and feeling those organs and being like, I'm sorry. Let's go back. I love myself. I don't have to harm my body in the process of realizing something. So getting back in that state, super important. And then once I was in that state of feeling calm and love for my body, then I just start to feel gratitude. And I mean, it's so perfect, and start to contemplate on my life and, all the things that have led me here to this point, and just feeling grateful for everything. And then finally from that place, I'm able to pull out, okay, what happened here? What happened? We're all good people. I mean, we all have good intentions. We all want to help others. But how did that go from there to here? So that's how I worked personally with, and still am working and receiving the insights and clarity I need for my participation in it. What is my participation? How did I how did I let myself, like, 2 times in a row, right, get to a place where people are just treating me like that? And so for me, it's like a lot of those deep questions of like, am I being too nice here? Am I being the goody goody girl, which is what I've always been, and too complacent and letting people walk all over me? Or am I doing the right thing by just holding space, letting the person reveal that side to them, and maybe a lot of other lessons that they're going to be learning as a consequence after? For me, it's been very much this dynamic of, where am I here? What's the healthy, how do I deal with these situations in a healthy way? But it doesn't deny the fact that I can prevent them from happening too, before they happen. Not all of them, some of them, they're meant to happen. I'm going to have a black moon Lilith in my 4th house, for example, this month. And whether it's this person or another, there are experiences that I need to experience with her. But if it's a pattern that you're going through, like, why am I always in the seat of, the one if it's a pattern in your life, you want to look at it. You want to look at it. And you want to understand what it's communicating to you. So for those of you that have gotten this Capricorn, Pluto and Sun, or even just Pluto, it depends on the day you had your lunar return, pay attention to that, because this is where the dynamic of power is happening in your life. Now let's remember that above and foremost, this is happening in your natal chart. That's the grounding rod, that's the foundation. The lunar return is just for this month. This is just where this month it's showing up. Your natal chart is those last few degrees of Capricorn, is where you have been mastering your power since 2008. That's a big deal. Big deal. You know what happened to me in 2008? That's when I left the cult. I mean, look at now, me still learning how to get my power, and not, have to say, okay to everything that is brought to me. I mean, talk about a cycle here. So ask yourself, look at your natal chart and say, where is Capricorn in my chart? And know that in 2008, Pluto entered Capricorn. And Pluto began a journey of transformation in that house for you. And now with the new moon, or Sun conjunct Pluto, it's a little part of that huge cycle that Pluto began in 2008. Big deal, big deal. The next, right after that, is Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is another dynamic, really powerful, really powerful, really powerful, because it's ushering in a new cycle. And we've talked already a lot in our last videos about all the PowerPoints, all the air signs, and how we're, ushering in this new cycle, and it's really exciting. On one hand, it's very exciting. On the other hand, it's square Mars, Black Moon, Lilith, Uranus. So I don't care how many grand trines you have. I don't care how many beautiful things you have aligned with this beginning of a new cycle. This is coming in with a bang. And we're all feeling that bang. I mean, one of our students, I don't know if she's here today, Lynn. I don't think she is. Did you make it, Lynn? I don't think she made it this time, but one of our dear students, Lynn AB, I've been doing her chart for years now. Every year I do her and her husband's. They're so beautiful. They're amazing people. And I developed a really loving and caring connection with both of them, looking at their charts and their year ahead and so forth. Well, Lynn just happens to have a sun in Aquarius. And this is exactly where the conjunction happened between Saturn and Jupiter. And while she has many positive things, because she has other air placements in her chart that are helping her really flourish in this next cycle, look at how it started for her. It came with a bang. Her house caught on fire. And she shared that with us in the last session. That's probably why she's not here with us today. Bless her heart, her and Blair. I even sent them a note afterwards to share a little bit of my love and my care for them during this time, and if they need anything, because it's a big thing. Their house caught on fire, their attic or something caught on fire, and now they're basically staying off of Airbnbs or hotels or whatever until that gets solved, which is going to be, and they just finished renovating their house. So now they're going to have to do, she told me they're going to have to do another renovation on top of that. I mean, talk about coming with the bank. Okay. And I will tell you that we're all experiencing this. And I used her example as a very drastic example. I'm sure many of you are also going through this in your own way. The focal point of Uranus and Saturn and Jupiter is a little bit different because it has to do with a lot of the social events at play and our participation in it, if we have any. So work, this is affecting a lot of work, a lot of businesses. This is affecting a lot of especially things that involve documents, because Saturn and Jupiter are very legal and documents and business oriented. So even Lynn's situation with her house, that obviously it's a whole other classification here, but there is a lot of the Saturn and Jupiter, I see it a lot, having to work out with the insurance and renovation and all the documents and paperwork and all the things that are going to have to go into now taking care of this, aside from, I'm sure, other things that we can spot in it as well. But this is just to give you an example of Saturn and Jupiter and their influence. It may involve documents, it may involve paperwork, and it may involve work on some level for you. However, you're going to have your own unique conversation with that. And if that's conjuncting one of your natal planets, bring in the nature of that planet's affairs as a part of that reset, as a part of that contributing factor to the world, to help the world moving forward, but also knowing that you're also going through your massive transition point here. Then we have Taurus. And Taurus, there's two ways that we're going to look at Taurus. One is the square that he's making with Aquarius. And the square is what is blowing things up in the Aquarius zone. So the Aquarius zone right now is pretty intense. And so is the Taurus. Let me show here you in the chart. So, because then even students that are looking at this in the future can have an idea of, because we can be talking about a square with other planets. Maybe you're looking at whatever, a square with Gemini and Virgo in your chart. But we're going to see and have a visual to see how this happens. So we have the reset happening to the world here. Okay, first few degrees of Aquarius, got it. If we didn't have the square to, from Taurus, we'd be experiencing this in a much different way. It wouldn't be as intense. It would be huge. It would definitely be intense for a lot of people. It would definitely be a game changer, especially because we're taking into consideration the greater cycles at play. And part of it is that air element conjunction now between Jupiter and Saturn. However, it wouldn't be as intense without the square. But of course, synchronistically, it's a turning of a cycle and so much, and we're birthing, and there's all the stuff happens. So of course, it's reflected in a very dynamic square. Not just any old square. This is not a Venus square. This is not a Neptune square. It's Mars and Uranus and Black Moon Lilith. Of course, things are going to be intense. So the first factor I want to bring your attention to is that we have one focal point over here. Okay, this is what you're going to do in your charts in the future. You're going to get a focal point. And if I'm looking at the focal point of Aquarius, then automatically I know that it's receiving a square from Taurus. So I already know that this beginning Taurus and the beginning Aquarius is a sensitive zone of potential stress, potential explosion, potential, something that is going to get people outside their comfort zones, and people are going to start acting, expressing, making changes, because that's what the square represents. The square brings dynamic action. Now, what kind of dynamic action are we looking at? Oh, not much, just the restarting of a new cycle, and just Mars, Uranus, and Black Moon Lilith. It's an intense square. That's my point. So I don't care if you have all the alignments in the air signs, you're still getting the square. This is happening for everybody. So once you understand that we have two focal points coming from somewhere, you're going to denote, is it, whatever Virgo and Gemini, like I said before, or whatever you're looking at, whatever your new moon chart is, you'll find another square. Last one we had with Pluto and Mars. Pluto and Mars were in a square. That's a very heated dynamic square. In order for you to understand that square, you got to understand what Pluto's doing. Then you got to understand what Mars is up to understand how they meet up in that square. But you're going to get the focal points. You're looking at a square, get to the bottom of it. What's the story behind it? So you can understand a little more of the force behind that square. In our case, we just spent this last whatever time doing it with our current square, Taurus and Aquarius. So we know that they're bringing a really intense energy into the picture. And this is where those of you that have in your natal chart anything natally in these 0 to 10 degrees of Aquarius and 0 to 10 degrees of Taurus, you guys are caught in that square. And I don't want to say caught is in a victim mode, but just like, sorry, just is what it is. I have my south node, my natal south node is here at 2 degrees Aquarius. So you bet I'm having all the past life, issues with authority and those type of things come up for me. I'm getting that square, even though I have a bunch of stuff in air, and that definitely helps a lot. But I'm still getting the square, and I have to be real about it. And I have to be, well, how much of it is, these are dynamics from past life that all right, I'm not going to repeat any mistakes here. Let's listen. This is serious business, And of course, with Jupiter and Saturn there, it really wants you to have that authority and the experience too. So it's a tricky combination, but this is what we're looking for. Now, the secondary points you want to look at are the other points that complete the square or the opposition, which would be Scorpio and Leo. These are the second points of intensity here with this square. So if you have things in your natal chart that are lining up with 0 to 10 Scorpio or Leo, it's just adding to the picture. So if I have my south node in Aquarius, that puts my north node at 2 degrees Leo. So I have this T-square here between my natal north node in Leo, my natal south node in Aquarius, and the already existing transit that is lining up with my south node in Aquarius and adding fuel from the square from Taurus. So this is where I'm just becoming aware of how this is being reflected in my chart. Still not trying to make any interpretations or trying to make sense of them, just being aware of it. Don't overwhelm yourself. Just be aware. Where are these energies coming from? Are they bringing in any other Leo or Scorpio placements to add to the intensity of this square? And you can do the same with any other square. If we're talking about the Virgo and Gemini square, you're going to look at Pisces and Sagittarius as the other components of potential stress, potential action. These are going to be forming the square and the opposition. So that's the first part of Taurus, is it's forming a square. So you want to pay attention to it. The square is coming from somewhere in your chart. Pay attention to it. Don't try to make any sense out of it. If you don't feel ready, but notice it. Now, the other part of Taurus is the quality. What is the quality of these guys over here that are lining up for the square with Aquarius? What is the quality? Am I looking at a Neptune? Am I looking at a Venus, like I said? It's like when you look at the quality of what's at play here, it helps you make a lot more sense of the squares, the trines, and so forth. This is also forming a beautiful trine, by the way. This is another thing of support, is the beginning of Virgo. Especially for the new moon in Capricorn, it creates the grand trine with Venus in Capricorn. So this is very beautiful. There are the pros and cons happening. You're going to notice a little bit of both in your charts. But don't go down the rabbit hole with that either. I'm just pointing it out so you don't think that it's all gloom and doom with the square, because it's intense, I know. But some of us are getting it with, the beginning degrees of the earth signs, and that is very helpful to channel this energy. But overall, I want to look at the quality of this energy. This energy is explosive. My gosh, Uranus and Mars together. Thank God it's in Taurus. Well, I'm not going to say thank God, because I know in Taurus it implies very specific things. But in Taurus, we do have the attribute of Taurus that it can hold itself a little more. If it was in Aries, this conjunction in Aries, we had a similar one with Black Moon Lilith when Mars was retrograde. And that was like death everywhere. People it was explosive. Oh man, I felt that one. In Taurus, individually, we can hold back a little more, a little longer, not for too long though, because when Mars conjuncts Black Moon Lilith, I need to tell you everything that I feel type of thing. This is Black Moon Lilith needing to own her righteous rage, own her voice. And there's a lot of us. I see Corolla there laughing. There's a lot of people right now that are doing this, especially women. I'm sorry to say this, but especially women, okay? There's a lot of angry women out there. And I've been like, should I say this in my next YouTube video or not? Is it going to be too right? But it is what it is. Taurus is a feminine sign. Amongst many things, Taurus relates to women, Venus. This is relationships. And there's a lot of women that are just feeling that Black Moon Lilith and dealing with it in their own ways. Many women are, coming into their own powers, into their own voice. I'm being mindful to let my righteous rage define my new boundaries now. Now that I completed the cycle of leaving the cult and the whole thing, it's like, all right, let me get my maturity here in my boundaries and my authority. And a lot of women are doing that too. A lot of women in relationships. I can't tell you how many women. I get so much of this in sessions I'm giving and in my friends, my close friends. There's a lot of women that are realizing that their relationship, their current relationship has served its purpose. And they're realizing that they're ready to start really embodying that power in them. And they're not going to be that stay-at-home mom anymore, taking care of the kids, doing the whole old school husband and wife type of thing. And they're making big choices around that. So there's a lot of women speaking up. There's a lot of women stepping to their power, but there's also a lot of women who are figuring out their power and feeling their emotions and feeling the Black Moon Lilith. And with this Uranus and Mars here, it's erupting, especially these next couple weeks. So if you are a man and already are in a relationship right now and you're already spotting signs of this in your partner, pay attention. On one hand, it could be that your partner is feeling the desire to express herself more and be more in her power. In other cases, there will be the angry woman and the releasing of all that pent up or all the built up years of stuff. It's all going to come out. So the quality of this is very explosive. Very spiritual in nature too, because we have Black Moon Lilith and we have Uranus, and they're both very spiritual. They activate. They have a lot to do with energetic forces, and the interaction with Mars over here is just going to amplify whatever it is. So this is a time that initially I was like, I'm just going to stay away from the world and I'm just going to go in my own world and my own bubble and let people work their stuff out. And now I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe I am. It's okay for me to be a little more proactive with situations as they come. And it doesn't mean that I have to, go to old school type of behaviors, but it does mean that what I've been doing up until now is not working for me anymore. So how do I figure out, how do I react to these situations? So a lot of it is going to be pushing you to deal with certain situations in your life that may be very Black Moon Lilith in nature. Okay, for all those of you getting this conjunction, this is the Taurus zone. Wherever it's highlighting, if you have a natal planet in here, and most importantly, lunar returns, because that's the examples we're going to look at. If you're getting this on an angular house or on an angle, which is even stronger, on your ascendant, on your midheaven, there's some Black Moon Lilith energies that you may have to get a little fierce about, or a little, there's a little extra charge here that is going to come to your path. Now, if you don't own that part of you, and this part of you needs to speak to you, and you don't own it, it's going to happen to you. And sometimes they can work together. Sometimes you will get a little bit of it in order to then push you into seeing something and, owning this Black Moon Lilith part of yours. We all have that. We've been talking about Black Moon Lilith extensively. So there's many different scenarios here that we could be experiencing Black Moon Lilith. So these are 3 examples of hot spots in astrology right now. I've narrowed and I've zoomed in the stellium, isolated this Capricorn new moon, which could also be a sun and Pluto. Many of you are getting sun and Pluto for your lunar returns. Whether it's even if the sun was up to 15 degrees, I'm at 15 degrees Capricorn. Here it is, 15 degrees Capricorn, 10 degrees away from Pluto. It's still a conjunction. Or after, it's still a conjunction. So we're all getting this power dynamic in our life. Second, the restructuring of society, economy, and all the things that relate to that. A lot of us are having to spend more money, or we're losing out on money. I mean, I had the whole situation with my real estate and still working that mess out, and all the money that's missing. And this is Saturn and Jupiter. Let's be real. Not all about love and light. There's stuff here that we got to work out. And then we looked at the other focal point, which is this Taurus zone. So now I know that you guys all have many questions around this. There's many questions even relating to your natal chart as well, which is a very powerful place to be receiving these alignments. But because this is a lunar return session and a lunar return practice, we're going to stay with the focal point of lunar returns. And I want to ask those of you that have any of these points that I mentioned, or any other point, if you feel there's another focal point that is coming up for you on your ascendant, coming up for you on one of your angular houses that you would like to share, please do so. I'm also going to invite you to, as you share, please share how have you been feeling that? What are some of the experiences in your life that you can correlate with these focal points that we just talked about?
Hi, Raquel, this is Deidre.
Hi.
Hi, Deidre. And I know someone else was there. Was that you, Jasmine?
It was Corolla.
Corolla. Okay, so Corolla, Deidre. Okay, you're coming next. Don't worry. I want to hear your examples. Yes, Deidre.
Okay. My Capricorn house and everything that's going on in Capricorn, my lunar return started the 11th of January.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the day that something blew up with my cousin. I put a comment in our group about that, and I had to speak my mind to her. It's something that I had been letting slide for years. But
Deidre, do you mind if we get your chart here to let
Sure.
how you say that? Because I
Sure.
think it would be
No
so
problem.
good to be able to spot those things as you share. And I love it that you can have that level of maturity now to share and point out in the astrology how these things happen.
Sure.
So what state were you born? City and state?
Mississippi. The city is Macomb. MCCOMB.
Can you say that again? MCC?
MCCOMB.
Okay, got it. Okay.
Mississippi. Yeah.
Birth date?
July 29th,
July 29th.
1966.
Okay. Birth time?
4 p.m.
Just like me. We're like, what? Were you really born at 4 p.m. on the dot?
Well, I talked to my mom. She was like, I remember. So, okay.
Right? It just makes you wonder. I'm like,
Yeah.
What are the chances, right? Okay, my love. So, and what's your location now so I can create your return?
My location now is Spring Valley, 2 words, Spring Valley, New York. It's going to say Rockland County, probably.
Okay. So, Spring Valley. So what I'm going to do here, and let's get this lunar return. What's your lunar return date?
January 11th.
Okay, so 1/11. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually put my entire screen so you can see the different charts I have going on. So let's stop the share. And what I'm going to do is, as Deidre explains her story and shares her story, I'm going to follow that, and you're going to see me pointing with my mouse to different things as she is saying and describing her story. Not with everything, but there are going to be many things that I'm going to be spotting in her chart, and I'm going to be like, oh yeah, there you go. And even as she's saying, you can also go looking at her lunar return chart and spot these things as well. Sometimes we'll make reference to her natal chart, but I think this is going to be a good. Okay, so you're talking about your sister, right?
It was my cousin.
Okay.
So where I see that.
Look at my mouse.
Okay. And so I felt Black Moon Lilith-ish come out around that time, but I had not looked at my lunar return, and I did not know that there was a square there. So to me, it felt more Pluto-ish in Uranus. But anyway, this I see some things around my right on my IC, and that's a separate issue. There's something else concerning that has been happening, or that has happened.
That's a powerful IC. Moon and Venus conjunction, huh? And then Pluto and Sun conjunction. Wow. Wow.
And if you notice, one of the things I noticed about this lunar return, if you notice, every house cusp is in the very early degrees of each sign. So it's like a huge reset in like all areas of my life.
Good point, Deidre.
Every
point.
sign, every sector is like beginning. I'm like, wow, that's why I felt so. Okay. So,
wow, sweetie, can I say something, guys? Don't minimize this. Remember, we've talked already about 29 degrees, you're wrapping something up. Early degrees, you're beginning something new. And I cannot emphasize this enough. I will second what Deidre's saying, because I have 0 degrees Capricorn and Cancer. I don't have it for my 4 angles. Man, that's a huge reset. But I do have it for these 2 angles, and that's exactly how I'm feeling. I'm like, oh my God, it's so many resets that's been happening this month for me. Yes. That I'm going to share it with you on my lunar return synthesis, but don't minimize this. It's true.
So that Capricorn house that's down there in the 4th on this lunar return, that is my natal first house. Okay. So this is me, but also, so this month it's about the core, my inner self, and this really didn't come clear to me until after our date, which was Wednesday, Thursday. And after our call, your words just just kept repeating in my head. And I knew I was being asked to make a commitment and to really acknowledge who I am on the inside. So, which to me speaks of the IC, which is my foundation, and it's my inner self. And you said it today when I got on the call. I have been having an issue calling myself an astrologer. I say to my friends and my husband, I'm not an astrologer. I just understand astrology. I just understand it. And I've been saying that for months, and I didn't want to claim that. And so the way it was brought to me the other night while I was laying in bed was like, it's like you're dating someone, or you're married to someone, and you're committed, but you don't want to make it legal, or you don't want to make it, you don't want to tell everybody, you don't want to solidify it, type of thing. You know what I'm saying? It's that same thing. So I felt, I don't want to say push, but a very, very strong, you got to deal with this. You got to acknowledge it, because this is who you are. And on the call today, just earlier, when you were saying, this is serious, guys, and you said, you are, whether you're going to do it professionally or just for yourself, you are an astrologer. Mm-hmm. I did that confirmation. So wow. There's a lot going on within this, on this IC here, which actually is my ascendant in my natal chart.
Just to complement what you're saying, do you guys all notice that she's really, really, in her own way, taking her power in many ways? Do you notice that as she's saying all this with the IC and so forth, I'm looking at her sun and Pluto. And do you notice that this conjunction is happening on the cusp of her second house? This is her house of self-worth.
Yes.
Her own values. Look at how she's picking up her power here. It's beautiful. So now it makes more sense to you, because now I explained the entire dynamic of the Sun and Pluto conjunction and how serious it is, and how it's ending a process that had begun for us in 2008. And now you see it happening in her second house, and you understand that she's having a whole redefinition of what she is worth and her values. Beautiful,
Yes. So that's what's going on in my world.
I totally hear that. And so this is a perfect example that the natal chart is the main one of where it's happening at. But it's reflected in her fourth house. How is she being able to step into her power? Well, there's an opportunity with a cousin, or with, was it a cousin that you said?
Yes, cousin, yes.
Yeah, exactly. And we are having this square, very dynamic happening here between this explosive combination and over here, but this is just continuing a story for her. It's helping her achieve this massive redirection of self-worth, and reestablishing her values and her authority as well.
And not caring what people think. I began to be stuck in presenting this online, presenting who I am online, and my service to the world. But I was trying to do it without saying, I don't have to say that I'm an astrologer necessarily, but without claiming it within myself, without claiming that. And I really had to examine, okay, why do you feel that certain way? And I know one of the reasons I feel that way is because I used to be in organized religion, not too long ago. And I'm still, a lot of people from my organized religion, Christianity, still follow me. And I'm like, what are they going to say when they start posting stuff on planets and all this stuff? So that has held me back a lot. And I think it finally got to the point, because I wanted to post something yesterday, and it's almost like Spirit was like, no. You're not going to post another thing until you deal with this in the inside of you.
You guys are all watching my mouse here, as she's saying.
Accept who you are. Yeah.
Speak up. Yep. Please continue.
Yeah. So it was like, accept who you are, claim who you are, stand in who you are. Some years ago, I say about 3-4 years ago, I heard Spirit say to me, own your space. Own it. And I didn't quite understand what that was, but now I understand. I back then astrology was not in my life the way it is now, but it is like, and my son even said to me the other day, yesterday, I was talking to my youngest son, the double cancer, cancer son, cancer moon. And we were talking, and he says, Mom, I think you really are undervaluing yourself.
Mm-hmm. Do you guys notice how her house of values is ruled by what? Saturn. Mm-hmm. Saturn over here next to Chiron, reinforcing the communication, standing up for herself. If I look at her ascendant, the ruler is Jupiter. It's in the house of others. She's all about others. Mm-hmm. This is healthy for her. This is good for her. This is where in a reading, when someone is sharing the stuff, you're like, you're on the right track. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yes. Yes. And Saturn is giving me lessons and teaching me, number one, boundaries, but it's giving me longevity in the spiritual, in Pisces, in the spiritual connection. And that really is where my heart is. And it is to help people find their own spiritual connection, because it's just a beautiful, beautiful place.
Yes.
So yeah.
Saturn is very, very, very close to her. It's a ruler of her moon as well. So the things that Saturn speak of for her, they're very important to her. And when she feels wounded for not being able to communicate or express herself correctly or share her truth, share the astrology, share all these things, Pluto, Uranus, this is a soul. This is huge for her. As she feels that she's not able to do that, this is so deep to her because it's directly affecting her moon. But her moon also craves that aspect of using the authority that she has, Capricorn, the teacher role, to help others. So she's learning how to have that authority, that confidence, that self-love to support that Capricorn moon. Capricorn moons are beautiful teachers. Amen. Wow, this is amazing. I really enjoyed doing this in where you can start the conversation. You can talk about, like what Deidre did was amazing, amazing, amazing. I love this. And I'm curious what you have to share, Carola, because your chart I know is lit right now. Let's get your chart going here, honey. Are you there, Carola?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Location?
So I was born in Frankfurt, Germany.
By the way, thank you so much, Deidre, for that, for sharing all that with all of us. Thank you so much. Frankfurt. Is it this one?
Yep, it's that.
Birthday?
December 27th, 1977.
Time?
At 8:50 a.m.
8:50. Okay. And here is your natal chart. And lunar return. What's your location right now?
Los Angeles.
All right, I'm not from here, so give me the state and the city. Is it
California. State is California.
California in Los Angeles. And what date should I put for?
My last lunar return was on December 31st.
On December. Ooh, right on the last day, huh?
Yeah.
Wow. All right, my dear. And by the way, look at that. And so Carola has a similar thing, because I was going to just wrap up Deidre's, and I was going to wrap it up with the importance of her angles. Same thing here. Lots of new beginnings. I'm curious to hear what you're going to say. But Deidre, thank you for sharing that with us. That was a powerful chart. Really good example of the entire picture happening. You know, not just the argument or whatever, but your conclusions through it all as well. Beautiful. All right, Carola, what do you have to share with us?
So, first of all, because I just also, during our whole chat today, I had this whole realization that this whole kind of tug of war, push and pull between my natal moon and Pluto, transitioning Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, there was this whole between my feminine and masculine. So that whole kind of, and because I'm a double.
You're looking at your lunar return. Are you talking about this opposition here, the moon and Pluto opposition?
It's been going on for the past year. So I just had this realization to it just came to me because the whole time I've been like asking myself, what is like this whole like opposition? What is this trying to tell me? And I just realized it's so much because I'm a double Capricorn, and this whole kind of thing that's been going on in Pluto in my first house opposite my natal moon. And now with Black Moon Lilith coming in for the past year, it's just, oh my God, it's just that feminine in me that is just wild. I mean, it's so fascinating because I know a long journey in my life. I was very much in that stoic Capricornian kind of area, ruled by Saturn, very restricted.
Yeah, the ascendant in Capricorn.
And
Pluto is just eroding all of that.
oh my God. And it's beyond anything that I have any, like, it's this.
You guys, listen from the source herself. This is someone who is going through it. I am telling you, any contact with Pluto and Moon, any contact is such a deep level of transformation. And for a woman, this is, it's so much of her essence as well. And to have it in an opposition, this is the most difficult alignment that you could have here with Pluto. So this is someone who has been going through it. Her words, okay?
Yeah. No, it's been so many deaths that have been happening, but also the really awakening my connection with spirit, because there is this whole and the connections also that I've been realizing because there is Neptune in Pisces is my second house. So the whole thing about my values, because that again comes, then
it solves it. Yeah, your boundaries, right?
It's that, and also my connection with spirit, because I was disconnected for so long, even so it was so there as a child, and then I got disconnected. I wanted it.
Oh, so it's re-entering as your values now.
Because I also started reading the Akashic records last year, and it started like I've been getting so many downloads, and again, it's that Pluto natal moon opposition, because I can feel the tug of war between that Capricornian kind of, oh my God, you need to, be in reality in 3D. And this is especially being raised in Germany, the Saturnian kind of, linear kind of thinking. Mm-hmm. But it's now beyond. It's like this my connection now is the downloads, and there are days where I feel, am I losing my mind? But then I thankfully also have a tribe of women who are also very spiritual and very connected with either channeling or just connecting with spirit, and that kind of reassure me, no, there's just that complete transformation happening. And I'm still figuring that out, but the power force is really Black Moon Lilith, and it's like this, because Neptune is kind of the divine mother kind of energy, and then I think there is, because we're going through such a clearing up right now, the dark feminine has to come in too, because it's been restricted and has been crusaded for so long. So there is that, it has to be fierce, and as much as not all, as you said before, love and light, and as much as I want to be that, it's all love and light, there is that that dark kind of feminine that wants to have a voice, and I can feel like I'm so rebellious right now and pushing against, and no one tells me anything, and there's that very kind of like really wild side that wants to have a voice, wants to be heard, and wants to free other women, and wants to inspire them and help the kind of and it goes even beyond women, but it's that kind of like stepping into empowerment. As I am stepping into my empowerment, I want to like take as many like kind of women with me or people who are ready to like step into their power. But it's almost
you
like
notice that even as she's talking about all these stepping into her power and coming out of the, the repressed closet of Capricorn, do you notice that all these big alignments are all happening in her first house? And I'm talking here the 2020 slow conjunction of Pluto, Saturn, Jupiter, like all those hits that we were having in 2020, it's all directly in her first house, okay, opposing her moon. And now even the grand conjunction that we had between Saturn and Jupiter, these are all happening in her first house. So her house of self, her path, her image, this is all transforming like deeper than deeper. And so that's why when she speaks, I know exactly what she's talking about. And the transformation that she as a woman is going through, because it's directly impacting her moon, it's really powerful. This is really, really powerful. Now, one observation looking at your natal chart, Carola, is you have a kind of a similar house to Deidre in the sense that you're all about others, right? Look at all this moon, part of fortune, Mars. I mean, this girl is really learning how to take her power right now, because look at the sun that is conjunct her ascendant that needs to come out. So she's having an opportunity now to understand all that and to face all that. And it's going to be really exciting, Carola, when the North Node, actually this already happened. So the North Node already conjuncted your Black Moon Lilith. Was this a trigger point for you for even more of these Black Moon Lilith energies?
Yeah.
Come out? Yeah, very powerful.
Yeah, it was like last year, I think October or something.
Yeah, this is very powerful. That's what I'm talking about, Lilith. So she's on the right track also. Now I gotta ask you, Carola, how did you, or you're still in the lunar return, so how are you feeling the 7th house holding? So we talked about this energy of Uranus and Black Moon Lilith as being feisty. I remember getting this combination in a couple lunar returns, and it was interesting. That's when, a lot of stuff happened with me. So I'm curious, Carola, this is the house of others, of relationships.
So I'm not in a romantic relationship, which is probably helpful right now because I don't think it would last like right now. It is that very, and I'm still kind of figuring these energies out while I go, but I try to as much, be in nature but it's interesting. Usually I have my daily meditation practice and yoga practice. I've not been able to do it. I have not. There's electricity kind of in my body, and it's also again, it's been feeling at times very much overwhelming of what is happening to me. Like it's beyond anything I have control over. There is this.
And have you felt any of that with regard to relationships in your life? I remember when I got this over here, I personally, we all experience it in different ways, but I just felt like there was a lot of angry people that month. Like people were just, even people that I didn't know, or like just on some random place, like people were just acting more aggressive with me in that month. And I was like, wow, what did I do? That's how it was with me. But I don't know how you're experiencing this because, when I got the angry people, it was in Aries. It was Mars and Black Moon Lilith in Aries. So that's why for me, I got a lot of the anger. But for her, it's the axis of Scorpio and Taurus.
So yeah, and it's more Scorpio in terms of internal. I've been feeling like very like dark energies and kind of like I've been feeling angry towards people, and I have to like really kind of like put a lid on it. I've been trying to.
Okay, you see, for her it's different because she's got the Scorpio ascendant. So when I had the Aries, I've got the Libra ascendant. So I was like the peacemaker. I'm like, why are people so angry at me? With her, this is reflecting something else. It's trying to get her into her power here. Yeah. So this Scorpio is getting fueled by this, and she's like, we're angry.
So I'm trying to like hibernate and stay away from people. That's what I've been doing.
Like I got PMS all month.
Yeah, well, it's been just, I'm like, oh my, and then I really am like biting my tongue because I want to lash out. I'm like, I'm not going to do, no, go into nature, that's been the only
Wow.
calming me down, going alone into nature.
Wow. Well, there you go. There you go. Wow, that's really powerful. Do you guys see how we can already spot these certain things in our lunar return chart just by being aware of the energies at play for the month? And then of course taking it a step further to see how this is relating to other themes and what this means for you. That's the next step. But for example, what Corolla shared right now about this Pluto and Moon opposition for her. Wow, I mean, look at this opposition. Come on, 24. She's at the heart of it right now. But let me just remind you, because we're dealing with lunar returns, the moon is always going to be in the same sign and degree as it was when you were born. Look at her natal chart. She has 24 Cancer. The only thing that's going to change in lunar returns is the house it's in. So just keep that in mind, because any alignments happening to your moon in your lunar return chart have been happening already to your natal moon chart. Okay, now we're talking here about the ones that take longer. Okay, the outer planets, and at least from Mars on out. You may get it for 2 months in a row. You may get it for 3 months in a row. You may get it for a couple of years in a row if we're talking about Pluto. This Pluto moon opposition is going to show up in every lunar return chart until Pluto keeps going, because her moon is always going to be at 24 Cancer. So that's another great tidbit there to remind you. Keep an eye out on the connections that your moon is making in your lunar return, and see if they're long-term connections, if there are connections that are speaking for more than a month for you, 2 months, 3 months, 1 year. Pay attention to that. Serious. Speaking to you.
And
wow. So
interesting is now for the upcoming lunar return, I will have an exact conjunction. It will be, my ascendant will be in Aries, and it will be exact conjunction of Mars and Black Moon Lilith, and Uranus is there too. So, and it will be squaring my Capricorn, the Aquarius, Saturn, and Sun. So that will be interesting.
wow. Yeah, it's interesting when you can start mapping these things out before they happen, and you're like, you partly know what it is, but part of it you just have to wait and see. And I was talking with someone yesterday about waiting. Oh, it was Sizzy, because she was talking about her Juno. Her Juno is going to be active in a few months from now. And I was talking to her about waiting. The closer you get to the date, the easier it is to interpret, because astrology is not black and white at all. And you're going to see that it's going to open up a context. It's going to open up the Black Moon Lilith context. It's going to open up the Juno context. But as you get closer, you are then better able to identify which people are going to be involved in that, or which scenario, is most likely to be the one to allow the Black Moon Lilith to be experienced. So wait until you get closer to those dates, and you'll have a better, clear understanding of how it can play out for you. Okay. So I'm going to be wrapping up now this class, because we've been here for a while. But I really enjoyed this time that we had to look at the charts the way we did, and we're going to be doing more of that. It's been an amazing time to have this opportunity to have date with Raquel Spring. Thank you, all those of you who participated, the ones watching the replay. This was a special gift, a Christmas gift that I offered to the students that wanted to participate some time with me. We've been dividing into 4 groups, and I've been 3 times a day just spending time getting to know you. And a little part of it's not an astrology reading at all, but a little part of our time together has been to look at your charts all together and have that dynamic. So you've all been getting used to looking at each other's charts more and more, and having that group dynamic, which you have expressed that you appreciate. So we're going to be including that more and more, like we did today. And now we're getting in that level where we're able to start understanding these dynamics of our charts. And it's because for me, it's really tiring when it's like, I have this, and the person just like waits for me to say what it means, you know? This is about you coming up with at least the initial. I will definitely always have something to say and always have something to add. But it's nice when you have that proactivity of, you know what's happening, what it means. Because we've been going on with these classes for a while now. You guys know quite a bit. So at this point, it's nice to start venturing out and interpreting, getting my feedback, having the other students listen. So with that being said, I want to thank everybody. I want to also let you know that we've reached a stage in our lunar return classes that we've been having. This is number 7. So this is the 7th month, right? I guess that we've been having lunar return classes, or the 6th month at least. And we have learned a lot of very valuable things to read charts. And this has encompassed way much more than just the lunar return chart. And that was always my intention from the beginning, is to teach you aspects of astrology with real-time transits. So we're merging both together so that you can even do this even faster. And you're doing it. So we learned a lot of specific concepts about the angles, the ascendant, the ruler of the chart. These are all things, concepts that we use with any chart. And I was able to teach you through the lunar return classes. So now you're at a stage where this is very much about practicing. Okay, we're going to continue looking at real-time alignments, whatever, but there's going to be a lot more of the practice involved. This is a lot more of what we did here today, as we still learn new concepts. And also the complementary thing is going to be the synthesizing and interpreting. Synthesizing and interpreting is where we're going to really start to focus on merging houses with signs, planets with signs, planets with houses. And that's going to give you a lot more confidence to start interpreting your charts. Because until, we did as much as we could with the lunar return. We learned a lot of things. We learned about the lunar nodes, so many different things. Now we got to catch up with practice and with synthesizing and interpreting so we can balance everything. So thank you for participating up until this point of the lunar return sessions. If you have any questions, if you have any sessions that you missed, please refer to the replays. They're all there. They're power-packed. They're never just about one or two things. They teach you so much, not to mention the own wisdom that I bring from my life experience that I'm able to share with you and help you through this process as well. So there's a lot of valuable content in there. You all have access to that. It's free. Part of the, even for the ones who just joined and are getting the drip feed program, you have access to the lunar return bonus folder. So enjoy, practice. Yeah, keep practicing with your charts. Keep practicing with your charts. Very important. You guys are doing amazing. Like, I am so blown away. Carolla's here talking about her experiences. And I'm like, Carolla, it was just last year that we were having our session together. And Carolla joined our program because she was so moved by our session. She was so moved about how some stranger could tell her so much about herself and make her feel so seen and validated that she's like, well, I want to learn how this works. And now here she is giving us a whole class. I mean, I'm just so proud of you. There's so many of you that came in here like hardly knowing anything, and you're just flying away with astrology. Really, really proud of you. Wow. Really happy. And last but not least, I want to say thank you one more time for everybody that sent in reviews and testimonials for my new website. Your words of love just, they made all the difference in my life. And to receive all the gratitude at once from so many of you and read all through them all, it was just like, wow, that definitely helped to boost my Sun and Pluto conjunction. And yeah, you guys are amazing. So thank you for that. It's going up on my website. I am so proud to have that display there. Beautiful words of love. Thank you.
Thanks, Raquel.
Comments? Any goodbyes from
Yes,
somebody?
definitely. Ladies, thanks so much for sharing. It's just so important for us guys to learn what's in your hearts, because it's your hearts that really help to heal us. It really is. And I've learned that about myself throughout my life. Anytime I've had some massive healings, it's really been because a lot of the feminine energies that have touched me. And you know, I know they're happening from the universe. You guys are the universe. And seriously, like, I found my home in Raquel's classroom. Thank you so much for being there for us, guys.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful ladies. I feel so loved and supported also by that feminine spirit. And Paul, you're always so humble and acknowledging the feminine role in your life and everything. So sweet. Thank you.
Aw, thank you.
All right, everyone. See you next time. Pay